Welcome in to Facebook Live on PressBoxOnline.com. I am the managing editor of PressBox, Luke Jackson, and I am with the jack of all trades with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, Scott Kornberg, a good friend of mine for many, many, many years. Scott, how we doing?
I am great because we used to do a talk show at the University of Maryland when we were in college together. Hard to believe this was 17 years ago when this started,
Hmm.
but we did it every Monday night. So, not quite Monday Night Madness, Luke, but it'll get pretty close. So I'm looking forward to talking with you. You are a great friend of mine for a long time.
And so we won't talk as much New York Jets today as we used to.
Gosh.
I will
No,
promise that.
thankfully not.
But the reason I called Scott the jack of all trades with the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, but really he's the play-by-play guy and whatever else is needed at Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, I do media relations, I do sales. It's one of those things that you get to call the game and you're willing to do really whatever it takes to be able to do that. So that's kind of minor league baseball. The goal is for anybody probably in my shoes. I'm sure if you guys talk to Pete Mishu, because I know we're going to be talking Norfolk Tides, he would probably say the same thing. The goal is to be in the major leagues, and then if you get there, all you have to do is broadcast the game. But in the minors, it's great. It makes your skills versatile. And there's things that I've done that I'm like, oh, this will never help me. And then it later did help me. So I'm really lucky for that.
So as Scott mentioned, the reason why we have him on is that Jacksonville was just in Norfolk for a six-game series. Minor league series are now Tuesday to Sunday, correct?
That's correct.
And first, let's start there. When you go to a road trip, whether it's Norfolk, Nashville, wherever, and it's a six-game trip, do you like that compared to what it was before, which was like a three-game or four-game series, right?
I actually do like it. I think from a lifestyle perspective, it's kind of like if you're going on vacation, right? Yes, we have to work, but when you get in, it used to be under the 3 game series. It's like, okay, you're tired because you're getting in that day. And then the next day you're tired because you traveled the day before. And then it's like, okay, I feel good, but then we're leaving, so you can't really do anything. Whereas here, in particular for some of the AAA cities where there's a lot to do, you get in Monday at some point and you've got the whole week where this is my base, right? Like
Mhm.
in my hotel room and I'm going to be here. I think from a baseball perspective, it's probably less good because you end up seeing the same guys over and over again.
Mhm.
But I think the players themselves, the coaches, they do like this. I personally say I would like it as well.
Yeah, from a baseball perspective, probably the player with the biggest challenge is that Tuesday starter who faces the same lineup again on Sunday, I would say. But for Orioles fans going down to Norfolk for a series or a weekend, do you have any of favorite spots in Norfolk to go get a bite to eat?
I do. I do. I just discovered this place last year, and Norfolk has a lot of good restaurants, but to me, I think you know this, Luke. I am somebody who like really prides myself on food. Like I love food, I love cooking, and if we're in a city, I love to find like the best eats. And I had found some like good ones, but never a place that I fell in love with until I went into Pokey on Granby Street in Norfolk. And I have turned a few of our coaches into this place, in particular this week, to the point where one of our coaches was going there literally for lunch every single day. It's awesome. Really, like really good food. It's freshly made. It's pretty reasonable for today's pricings. You get like 3 proteins for $16 in a rice bowl or two for 14. I'm going very detailed in here. Norfolk also has a lot of really good coffee shops. There is a place called A Latte, a little bit further up on Granby, and then there's a place called Neptune's Fury and they did a banana pudding latte with a little cookie on top. It was a really nice touch.
I love it. I love it. So in terms of the baseball, moving to that side of things, the big storyline in Norfolk this week is that, or this past week, I should say, is that Jackson Holliday's there and he's coming back from a hamate injury. And just looking at the numbers, it's been a pretty slow go for Jackson. And I'm guessing that the numbers sort of match what you saw with him with your own eyes.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to tell how concerned Orioles fans and the Orioles themselves should be about that because technically this is kind of his spring training, so you don't
Hmm.
know, right? We've seen a lot of guys who have struggled on rehab assignments and then they go up to the major leagues and they're perfectly fine, right? So don't know what he's working on, but to the naked eye, he definitely did not look great. He only had 2 hits all week, and that was coming in 19 at bats, and one of the 2 hits was a 69-mile-per-hour swinging bunt. So I really only think he hit the ball hard one time all week. He only walked one time all week, and it was an intentional walk. So whether or not like he was working on certain things, it also didn't appear that he was maybe getting in counts that would be advantageous to him. Nor were our pitchers seemingly, and this is a really good pitching staff in Jacksonville. We have several guys who are major league guys, but the Marlins, their strength, our parent club, is that is pitching. Like Braxton Garrett had a 3.5 ERA 2 years ago, had arm surgery. We don't have a spot for him in the major league, so he goes out yesterday and he throws 6 no-hit innings. Cade Gibson's a reliever who we did match up with Jackson Holiday a few times over the week, and Gibson had a 2.5 ERA last year in 44 games in the majors. So like those are the caliber of pitchers we have in Triple-A. Nonetheless, it wasn't a great week for Jackson Holiday. I don't think that has to be the permanent thing. We don't know what he was working on, if anything. But to the naked eye, he definitely struggled, and it is weird. Like he's only 22, but for a guy who was the number one prospect, the major league numbers have not been good now in 200 plus games. So I don't know what to make of it. Not being around him, not getting to talk with him, but yeah, it was a rough week for him for sure.
So you mentioned Major League Arm in your rotation. Did you happen to see Dean Kramer on Tuesday or Wednesday?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen, and that's the same thing with him, right? It's like, what is this guy doing in the majors? But it's just the numbers game right now, and it's a really similar thing to Braxton. Is that I'm sure Dean is not happy to be in AAA. Braxton is not happy to be in AAA, but the only way you can get out of that is to just dominate here, and that's kind of what he did the other day. So there's a lot of really good arms, I thought, in the Norfolk rotation. I didn't think anybody was like a slam dunk kind of guy,
Hmm.
but I think it's a situation where you kind of throw all these interesting pitchers in some way, right? Like Trey Gibson,
Hmm.
he actually was dominant against Jacksonville in his AAA debut last year. And then it's something like 8 or 9 starts in AAA. He had an ERA over 9. And then he pitched really well against Jacksonville this week. So, I could see it like, are we just getting the best of him? Like, does he match up well with us? And he's just not good against everybody else. I don't know. Again, I only see him against us, and he looks pretty good. Nestor Herman, I think, is like a pretty high floor guy. I like him a lot. He throws a lot of strikes. I think Levi Wells is really good. I think he's underrated, throws hard. I like him a lot. We obviously saw Kramer. So there are interesting arms that I think if you're in need of a starting pitcher, there are guys you could pretty easily take from this team. And with a pretty competent level, I think they can perform in the major leagues. I think in the past they were hoping that would be Chase McDermott, and we saw him a couple times, and he looked pretty good out of the bullpen. The stuff is there. The numbers on the season are not great, but maybe he's starting to turn the corner again to where he was a couple years ago.
Yeah, so they needed room on the 40-man roster, and McDermott was actually the guy a couple days ago who got
Yeah.
DFA'd. So I suspect that he will be claimed.
Yeah.
And from what you're telling me, you probably wouldn't be surprised if he's claimed either.
His
Um,
stuff is good.
yeah, and I also wouldn't be surprised if Levi Wells helps out in the bullpen at some point this season
Yeah.
for the major league club. Now, probably the highest rated prospect at Norfolk is Enrique Bradfield Jr., a very speedy center fielder who can really go get it in the outfield, can steal a lot of bases. What'd you think of him?
I like him a lot. I've always liked his game a lot, just because I think I'm drawn to that
Hmm.
style of player. And by the way, one more guy we saw, Brandon Young, was
Mm.
impressive on Sunday. So Bradfield, I just there's definitely a spot for him in the major leagues for quite some time, just simply because even if he doesn't hit, and that's the question, right? Is he going to hit? Even if he doesn't, he's a 80 speed player, and I mean, he might be like an 80 or 70 defensive player. He's so good out there in center field. And it's not just the way he covers gaps and he gets the balls and his jumps are excellent and his routes are excellent. His arm is really good too. I mean, we were a very aggressive base running team, and we did not challenge him at all throughout the entire week. And I think that's the respect we have for him as a player. He had a huge game. It was Friday night, hit a game-tying two-run home run in the seventh inning. In the eighth inning, hit a go-ahead two-run single with two outs and the bases loaded. Other than that, I think he was kind of quiet offensively, and we've seen him in the past, and you kind of know what you're going to get with the bat. Like the home run, I think it was an anomaly. He's not a huge power guy, but I do really like his game. And again, I think like the floor there is really high just because you're getting so many other things. And also I think we had to remember he's still fairly young. He's still only 24 years old. So I know that's not like Jackson Holiday who got up there at 19 or 20, but I do really like Enrique Bradfield from the moment we saw him, I think for the first time last year. It's just like a really pleasing style of play. And even if he's a fourth outfielder, I still think he's a really valuable player.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you in terms of being a high floor guy. Now, another guy that is interesting and has been a fan favorite each of his minor league stops in the Baltimore farm system is Creed Willems.
Mm.
Because number one, everyone loves the first name and everyone loves the hair. And I think that you saw him hit a home run or two this past week, right?
We did. We saw him hit too. He was awesome.
And that kid can hit a fastball.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Like the you made this comment to me before, so I had to steal this from you
Okay.
before we started recording, but I'm giving you credit.
All right.
You said that if he would have played college baseball, he would have been a fan favorite. And yeah, absolutely. I think he will be a fan favorite. And I think he's good enough to hit in the major leagues. I think what a lot of people don't realize about Norfolk is in particular this time of the year, the weather is rough. At least it was this week. And Tuesday, Wednesday, we were playing games with the wind blowing 35-mile-per-hour gusts in from the outfield. And the real field was 36 degrees, I
Hmm.
think, on Wednesday. I think it was like 41 or something like that on Tuesday. So that's legitimate, like AL East, like Boston, New York, Toronto. I guess Toronto you can play inside, but like Boston, New York, April, and maybe, Orioles fans are hoping October weather, and that didn't affect him at all. It got a little bit warmer over the weekend, but the wind was still howling in from the outfield, and he hit a home run like right through like a pretty stiff breeze Saturday night in the seventh inning to win the game eventually for Norfolk. I just think he's a really good hitter. Our staff has a lot of respect for him, like in the scouts, right? Like, of what he could do. I think we have a lot of respect for Jackson Holiday, obviously, but of the Triple-A guys, I think he was the one who probably circled on the roster as like we've got to be most careful with this guy. And we tried to give him a bunch of different looks, like different pitchers coming out of the bullpen, and he was able to handle pretty much everybody. Just a rugged player, but like just in the style of everything, right? Like his hair, his batting stance, just because he's right up on the inside corner and it's a closed stance and his swing. But I hitting plays and that guy can hit. It's pretty obvious, even though it's his first duty of Triple-A.
So you mentioned how cold it was at Norfolk this past week. Now I'm curious, where are your favorite places in the International League, aside from Jacksonville, to call a game?
Yeah, Charlotte is the obvious
Okay.
answer, right? If anyone's not seen that ballpark, just Google their ballpark and like literally it's carved into they call it Uptown Charlotte, but downtown of any city. And like it feels like the buildings are Lego pieces beyond the wall. Like, you're that close, you can reach out and touch them. Durham is a great spot. The history of minor league baseball there is real. You could walk to the old Durham Bulls Park, like from the movie and also from real life. And the it's not a new ballpark anymore, but it's held up incredibly over the 30-ish years that it's been around. And the atmosphere is incredible. The city really prides itself on minor league baseball. Like that is their thing, kind of like Norfolk. Like that's the big thing there. Nashville, obviously, like really cool city, really cool ballpark. Columbus, we don't go there a ton, but same thing. So my upper tier would be those four. Jacksonville in that, but of the visiting parks, I do like that. Lehigh Valley is kind of cool too, and Worcester. I would say I like the ballparks a little bit less than the ones in that quartet that I named, but the atmospheres are great from Philadelphia and Boston fans are really, really good, and that plays even in the minor leagues when we were in Lehigh Valley, Brandon Marsh, who's not a big time player, was rehabbing, and he was getting standing ovations from like 9,000 plus people. It was wild. And then in Worcester, you do get the Sweet Caroline um, in the eighth inning, and that's really cool. The fans are into it all game, but like there's those little special touches in those two places as well.
So minor league season's 144 games or something like that, right? Or is it longer than that now?
We play 150.
150. So are you
hmm
going to call all 150?
I think I will do something like 141 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, my son's birthday is in a couple weeks, so I'm gonna actually fly home for that weekend and have our other broadcaster call it remote. And then I'm in one of my really good friends. I don't know if you remember my friend Jay. He came to Maryland one time, but he is getting married in Wyoming our last week of the season, and I'm in the wedding. And all due respect, I am very, very excited to be in Wyoming at that time.
So what's the minor league grind like as a broadcaster? Let's start with like the A ball level when I don't know, you're probably when you're going on road trips, you're probably driving the bus, so to speak. And then in the Triple-A level when you get to fly.
Yeah, so it is bus rides up through, at least as far as I'm aware, it's my experience, through Double-A. So in Myrtle Beach, the job I had before this, the old Carolina League, we were the southernmost team, and the northernmost team was the Wilmington Blue Rocks. And so in Myrtle Beach, you don't play day games because they don't want to compete against the beach. And so we'd have like a 6:05 or 6:35 Sunday night game. And you'd play like 2.5, 3 hours. Everyone takes an hour or so to get on the bus after the game. So you're leaving around 11:30 at night.
Hmm.
And Wilmington, Delaware is quite a far trip. So, we'd be on the bus watching the sunrise, and you wouldn't get into the hotel until like, I don't know, like 8 or 9, something like that, depending on if you stopped. And normally they do like one stop at a gas station. So, AAA, we do some bus trips, like Norfolk, for example, would bus to Durham because it's not that far of a drive. I think it's like 3 hours or so. For us in Jacksonville, we bus to Gwinnett, which is near Atlanta. We bus to Durham and we bus to Charlotte. And every other trip you fly, but we don't. It's not like in the major leagues. Like I've been really fortunate to do some stuff in the major leagues, and in the major leagues, it's like it's a chartered jet, and there's food all over the place, and they have like waiters who are going to take your drink orders, and they're going to have an in-flight menu of specially prepared things in addition to the food that you see on the flight, and there's desserts that you can order from. It's way, way different. In the minor leagues, we're flying commercial.
Hmm.
So you could be on our flight. And it's funny because we'll be at the gate, right? Like we were flying American Airlines yesterday, and you could see people kind of like do a double take, like who are these 35? I'm not including myself in this, but I'm talking about our players and some coaches who are former professional athletes. Who are these 30-ish, fairly young, clearly fit men who are clearly together? Like they're trying to figure this out in their head. And it's inevitably somebody will ask, like, "Are you guys a basketball team?" Like, no, we're a baseball team or whatever. But yeah, so we fly commercial. So we did not get in until 2 a.m., from the last game from our Norfolk series. Um, as you talked about in the beginning of this, I do other things. So it's not just getting to the ballpark and broadcasting the game and doing your prep. There's a lot of different balance that I have to pull in the day. It's a longer day as a result. Typically, I work like 10 or 11 in the morning to 11:30 at night, right? Because there's just so many other duties besides broadcasting the game. But listen, I mean, I think it's a great job. I think you knew I wanted to do this when we were in college together. And the hope, our players would say the same thing. It's like we're all gunning for the same thing here. We want to get to the major leagues. The everything is better, right? The cities are better, the lifestyle is better, the money is better. And if you can make that happen, it is incredibly difficult to do, but it is definitely worth the, I hate to use the word because it's such a cliche, but the grind of minor league baseball. But to get to this point is a huge deal because there are so many guys who start in A ball who do not make it to this level. So the guys that Orioles fans that you see in Norfolk or Miami fans that you see in Jacksonville, these are really, really, really good players. And it's crazy because some of them still will never make that last jump.
How many Major League Series have you done? Remind me.
I have done 17 major league games, so
Okay.
I'm very fortunate to have done that. Don't know if that's going to happen this year. Doesn't seem like it right now, but hopefully, if there is a situation where they need to fill in, they would ask me to do it. I would love to do that, but I'm grateful because you don't know, right? Even for the players, you don't know. You might get up for one game, and that's it. And so you have to cherish every single moment.
And your Major League debut was, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, right?
Yes, Marlins Mets, May 18th, 2024. That's kind of like a birthday. You remember that
Right.
day. So I can get into the details of that if you want.
Yeah.
I'll be
What was the
quite
experience
short.
like?
Okay. So it kind of reminded me of my wedding day
Okay.
in that whatever could happen didn't really matter. It was really important for me to have my family there, like my parents and of course my wife and my kids. At the time I only had two kids. And my kids wake up very, 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 very early. And so we're in Miami, and my kids wake up at like, I don't know, like 5:30 in the morning, something like that. And normally I'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm nervous, right? I have to do well. This is a huge deal. But you're so happy that you're there, and you're just like, all right, whatever. We went to this super overpriced breakfast place that my wife wanted to try. And I'm lugging the two of them through the streets of Miami because they like when I hold them, in particular when they were that little. One of them was 4 and the other one was one and a half. And it's like 95 degrees at 7 a.m. and you're paying way too much for this food that I didn't think was that great. It wasn't a pokey in Norfolk, like for the poke bowls. And yeah, the it didn't matter, right? Like it didn't matter. I was going to do that game, and then the game itself was pretty incredible. Um, the it's like one of those things where everything happening to you is so surreal. Gary Cohen has been a huge influence of mine. Like I remember listening to him so many times as a kid, the Mets TV broadcaster, and I got to meet him in person for the first time before the game, and that was so cool. And I think in like the sixth or seventh inning, might have been yeah, I think it was the seventh inning. I'm having the time of my life. The Marlins were losing. They could have lost 99-0. It didn't matter, but I remember sending it back to the Marlins radio guy at the time, Kyle Seeloff, and I think distinctly remember thinking in my head, man, I just wish this day's been so perfect. I just wish it can go a little bit longer. And it was like the baseball gods heard that and they were like, all right. And the Mets, who are normally at that time had Edwin Diaz, like normally you have a 4-run lead in the Marlins, who at the time were one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. The game is pretty much over. But the Marlins had this ridiculous comeback and um Edwin Diaz blew the lead in the ninth inning, and then we're going into the 10th. And Kyle in the commercial break, he's like, "Hey, just so you know, this is your inning." I'm like, "What?" Like, you are the Marlins broadcaster, but I got to call a Marlins walk-off in my major league debut. And the guy who hit the game-winning single actually signed the baseball for my son, Otto Lopez, before the game. And like it was a fairy tale. And I'm sitting there, like my phone is just blowing up like crazy. In the post-game show, still kind of in disbelief, right, that I got that moment. And I remember texting my wife something along the lines of, like what an incredible day. And then she responded that so she had left with my mom in like the eighth or the ninth inning because the kids were getting a little tired to take them back to the hotel, and they were still listening to the game as they were doing that. But she responded to me and said, my son's name is Sam. Sam just threw up all over the hotel elevator. And that was her reply. And I said, okay, a little bit less incredible, but still pretty amazing. But that's what that day was right was like. Like things could have gone wrong. Like somebody threw up in the hotel elevator because my son ate too much ice cream and my uncle was throwing him up and down. But it didn't matter. Like it was truly an incredible day, and I remember it very, very distinctly.
You have any souvenirs from that day? Like the lineup card from the clubhouse or anything like that?
I do actually. So we're in my living room. Hold on, I'm gonna walk a little bit. And my wife, she is amazing. She made this thing for me to commemorate that. But I have the lineup card
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
a bunch of pictures that of that day. Like I obviously took this one right here. She's got the date and the Mets and the Marlins. 10-9 was the final. I didn't realize she took my credential, but she took my credential, which is right over here. And then this is pictures of my family. So my uncle and cousin came out from Texas, and my dad and mom and my daughter's pretty grumpy in that picture. But I think overall I had a pretty fun day because my uncle was throwing her around in the stands. They didn't get the gravity of it to say the least, but that was what was really classy is like they didn't have to do this. And they did. Like Kyle after the game said, I have a surprise for you in the clubhouse. We went down there and that's what he gave me. And this is
That's
that
awesome.
moment. Like that was so, so cool.
So what have you learned from broadcasting those 17 major league games that you wouldn't have otherwise if you didn't get that opportunity?
I would say that I have learned, I guess the best advice that somebody gave me was that don't try to be anything you're not. Like literally, you got here being yourself and being the kind of broadcaster you are. You don't have to switch it because you're in the major leagues. In fact, don't because you got to the major leagues like this. The weird thing I would say that I learned is that even more so, I felt like I had to be myself even more because that's what got me to the major leagues. And the days are a lot different. The structure of it, right? The ability to focus only on the broadcast and not have to worry about a sales call or
Pull in the tarp.
looking at my email right now. I have someone called me about something for sale, so I have a voicemail. Someone asked about a group outing on Sunday that I have. Somebody asked me for another ticket for a game for tomorrow. Somebody asked me for another ticket for Saturday. In my text, Braxton Garrett is the International League Pitcher of the Week because he threw 6 no-hit innings. So I'm in a text to be able to get that press release and that graphic out. Like it's a lot different of a day. And so the ability to truly like hone in on your research is different. But I think what I learned is that it's really important to be who you are because that's what got you here.
Right, right. And so even on the Monday off day in the minor leagues, it's not really an off day, is it?
There's never an off day, it feels like. And that's what's hard, but you try to like I'm gonna use as much of this day to try to have as much of an off day as I can. Like I'm gonna go cut the lawn a little bit, and after I take care of those emails, it shouldn't take too long, hopefully.
All right. Well, I'll let you get to it. I'll let you get to your off day. You have a lovely, lovely off day, and thank you for coming on, brother.
Anytime, you are an amazing friend. I am really grateful to have done that show, and hopefully we maybe, you never know. Maybe one day we could do something else again too.
You never know. You
You never
never,
know.
never